Welcome back to the InboundREM Whiteboard Thursday. All right, you will not be seeing this video on Thursday because we don't post them on Thursdays, but we film them on Thursdays. And today I'm going to have a surprising and honest conversation with all of you because the subject for today's whiteboard is an honest conversation about why SEO is not a good fit for most real estate agents. Now, you may or may not know this, but I am the founder of InboundREM, which is arguably one of the top agencies for residential real estate agents to provide SEO services. So the first part of the honest conversation is that most agents don't understand search engine optimization. Search engines have become a very big, confusing topic. You have local, you have video, and you have traditional search. Traditional search is what Google has been doing since it started to become a thing in the early 2000s. All right. So SEO, traditional SEO is what we're talking about today. Okay. Traditional SEO is when you do a search like how much are property taxes in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you get a blog post about somebody talking about property taxes. That is traditional SEO. New SEO is more like you do who's the best realtor in Los Angeles, and you get hyperlocal search packs, which are actually not traditional search. And you find the Google business profile. Those types of SEO, the reason I've decided to have this conversation is I do 2 to 4 consultations a day, most days, on days when I'm taking calls. And what ends up happening is I've discovered that I rarely end up making the recommendation for a full-on traditional SEO package. I do occasionally. It does happen. Veteran agents with proper budgets and great expectations and understanding of timeline. But I'm going to get into the reasons why in many, many cases, I end up steering agents in a different direction for their marketing. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Number one, time. Okay, traditional SEO has gotten significantly more complicated over the 16 years I've been doing it. When I first started doing traditional SEO, you could create a page on like Alabama catfish farms and have that page rise to the top of the search engines in 30 days or less, sometimes as fast as a day or two. You submitted it to the search engines, nobody had done a page on that particular subject, and the next thing you know, it's coming up in the search results, and you are theoretically driving traffic to your website. So it was a great marketing strategy that was super fast to implement, super fast to see results, and the bar for what people would do after they arrived at your website was much lower. They might theoretically call you, like just based on that one page. The fact that you had anything up at all about Alabama catfish farms, and if they owned a catfish farm or were interested in owning a catfish farm, it was a very small distance between you and them contacting you. In very specific, very niche situations, all of that could theoretically still happen, but it doesn't generally work that way anymore. These days, if you're going to say, what is average? It takes more like 6 to 12 months at a minimum to get to the tops of the search engines for, let's say, a blog post. And there's a lot of factors involved. When we explain those factors to agents, the idea that it is as complex as it's become, you've got to have link building and domain authority and other things in place before you even have a chance of taking a top search result. Huge players have entered the industry, such as Zillow and Trulia, and they dominate searches that real estate agents would know, like homes for sale in Los Angeles. They dominate those. They also, Realtor.com, dominates searches that relates to realtors, which is why hyperlocal is so important, is because Realtor.com cannot and does not take position above real estate agents in hyperlocal. So, but the traditional search results, they still dominate. If you wanted to displace major players like that, it would take a very long time. And additionally, it might take a lot of resources, which is leading us very nicely into number 2, money. How much it costs. So if you're going to hire a guy like me, and I'm quoting you, and I'm on the low end. I quote somewhere between $750 and $2,000 a month, generally speaking. Bruce Clay and other traditional SEO agencies rarely give out a quote for less than $5,000 a month. So then you add that into the time factor, and now in order to be qualified for me to even have a conversation with you about traditional SEO, you've got to be a veteran agent probably making between $150,000 and $300,000 a year minimum. And you've got to have a long-term view on where you're going to get your results from. Long-term, with the amount of searches that are out there and the amount of traffic and how low the competition currently is, there's still a lot of money in doing this. So for veteran agents who have a view on their business where they're going to be around for 2, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, it still makes sense. But to new agents, anybody in their career that's year 1 through 3, doesn't make any sense whatsoever unless they've owned a business in the past and that business is focused on SEO. No, it doesn't really make sense because it takes a lot of resources. Like I absolutely say no to 80 to 90% of the people that talk to me about SEO. I flat out tell them traditional SEO is not for you, and I steer them towards local, which is exactly the opposite, by the way. Local, you can start seeing results and getting phone calls in as little as 90 days. Okay? It's fairly fast turnaround, and it's significantly less expensive. It can be as low as $500 a month, and sometimes you can pay somebody a one-time fee for that, not me, but you can pay somebody a one-time fee for $1,000 and see some kind of result that may get you some phone calls. So it's extremely fast and extremely inexpensive in comparison to traditional SEO, making it a much more solid recommendation for people in their marketing budgets, the average realtor, the newer realtor, because newer realtors have an advantage for local over established realtors. Established realtors won't pay any attention to what it takes to rank. A new realtor looking for an edge, looking for a way to compete in a crowded marketplace with people with much larger PPC budgets and things like that, it makes all the sense in the world for them to look at local because they can just do a couple of things that are easy for them to control that will give them an advantage over established realtors with more reviews, with all of it, and still give them a chance to get into 1 through 3 on the results. And the best part about these profiles is the call to action is really clean. In other words, people click a button and they're on your phone talking to you, which is what most people want. When they're on a website, they're usually looking at like doing research and getting their questions answered, and that creates not as much urgency to register with the site or to become a lead of that site, which all is just ways of saying that while you can overcome that, it does take more time. You have to build a stronger relationship. You have to have more content on the site, and all of that leads into the time and money equation that I've already covered. Another type of SEO where money is not as relevant is video SEO or YouTube. YouTube, you can rank a video still in 1 or 2 days, which means that you start getting in front of people almost immediately. So a well-optimized video makes so much more sense for those realtors willing to do video, or who have something to say, who are experts, or who are entertaining, or who have charisma, or who have all of the above. Then it makes all the sense in the world for them to look at video before looking at traditional, because you can get results so much faster and for so much less money. Even if you were paying somebody to edit the video, even if you're paying for somebody to optimize the video, it's still going to cost less than traditional SEO. And now here's my favorite part. Video is so important that oftentimes you can take a well-ranking video with lots of engagement and place it inside of a blog post, and that blog post now will rank, and your entire timeline will shorten, all based on video. So video really comes first. If somebody is really like, if you call me and are pressing me for ways that your marketing could be more effective in a shorter timeline, I'm always saying the same thing. I've been saying the same thing for the last 5 years. It's video, video, video. Or YouTube specifically, not just video. Temperament. This is absolutely one of the most important things that you try to measure when you're on the phone with a realtor. And I'm so sorry, but it's a complicated equation because it really takes a very particular type of temperament. Business owners who are used to making big investments, 20-year veteran agents, 10-year veteran agents who've already outlaid a lot of money for marketing in a lot of different ways. And they understand that all the other ways are short-term or cyclical or not effective anymore. And so they're looking for something, and they very clearly know the time, energy, and money that's going to go into the decision. And the only way to understand the temperament of the person that you're talking to is to actually talk to them for a while. Ask them questions about the background. Lay out what is really involved in this. 16 years into this and about, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000 projects under my belt, I have a pretty good understanding of what performance is going to look like in this category. I can give you the pros and the cons, explain based on the traffic and the searches in an area how long it might take and what might come of that traffic should you get it, should you get in front of it. Now, this is the reason I'm doing this video. A lack of quality information. Now, this is one of the things I've talked about in other videos and other ways, but I am saddened and disappointed about how little quality information is available to realtors. And what I mean by that is it's not like other people. I'm not going to point at everybody and say they have ill intent. I am going to say that the amount of times that realtors come to me and say that they've talked to other agencies, other salespeople, and those salespeople have inferred or said directly that you can get SEO results in 60 days. That's just absolutely not true. That's just not true. You cannot. And so this lack of quality information becomes a huge issue inside the real estate industry because you need more people having clear, educated conversations with agents. I'm not saying that I know everything. I am saying, though, that I have a deep well of actual experience that suggests that while maybe not impossible, it would be extraordinarily difficult. And quality information is saying, well, listen, rules are made to be broken, and it's always possible. I have a couple of clients that had high domain authority websites. We did the work, launched the site, and 30 days later, their business was changed. But I'm saying a couple out of a couple hundred, okay, of clients that InboundREM currently has. That's 1%. 1% saw a relatively overnight kind of result. And there were factors that made that possible. It wasn't just like, oh, we turned it on, or even that we got lucky. It's like a really established domain where somebody hadn't updated their website in 10 years, or they had been using a provider that focused on SEO, not at all. And so they finally they thought they should be getting something better. And oftentimes the things that people call me about is, I just want to come up and search, before my competitors. They don't have any other requirement other than that. And so the lack of quality information is that there's also like a differentiation between achieving traffic and achieving conversion with SEO. That is another qualitative piece of information that has to be a dialogue between you and the marketing company that you're partnering with, which leads me to the last bullet point. A relatively small amount of qualified partners. When I was creating the notes and thinking about how I was going to communicate on this subject, I started to run through my head who are even qualified partners. And honestly, there's really only one name that still is relevant. There's two people that have been doing it a long time. A guy by the name of Dean, and he has a website called Dean Knows, and another guy by the name of Morgan, who owns an agency called Real Estate Webmasters. They both have this skill and experience. They've been doing it for 20 or 30 years, focusing on residential real estate, and they have a reasonable amount of ability to understand what results should be. But here's the thing. Dean is still probably somebody that you could call, but the last time I checked his website, I couldn't even tell if he was actually the person taking the calls anymore. And then with Morgan has gone to a strictly search-based site. It's a very specific kind of site, and you can still see some ranking for SEO on his sites. He used to have much more robust solutions, and he's definitely narrowed his scope and raised his prices significantly, because for a very long time, he was the only guy that you could call that could realistically achieve some SEO results. Now, there's other companies out there, Sierra Interactive, but what people don't know is those other companies usually refer you out to a partner. They're not doing it themselves. They've got other people doing it for them. And whether or not you are actually having a good conversation with somebody before you start this is questionable, because I personally, when I'm talking to people, like one of the customers that I have right now is one of the top 10 websites that Sierra Interactive manage. He has lots of SEO results, but he does them all himself. The number one website in the world for SEO in real estate is Ruby Homes, and that is run by a marketer who had a huge amount of skill and pedigree before he ever just selected like Sierra Interactive to build his site on. 100% of his results are due to his own efforts. They just have a platform where if you had his skill and background, you could be successful. And whether or not you could repeat Ruby Home's success, even if you had the background, is questionable. Because he's trying it himself on using Ruby Home or using Sierra Interactive, and none of his other projects except one have achieved the same level of success, even though it's the same guy running multiple sites in different cities at this point. So it is legitimately a question about whether or not you could even replicate the success. That means that you have, and those people, those specific individuals, as well as the couple of other people that are agents that I could point to that either have husbands that are marketers or they themselves are marketers, whether or not you could repeat what they've done, even if you could understand it and they would share it with you, is extremely questionable. There is only, that I know of, I'm the only SEO-First real estate marketing agency. Which is why I founded the company in the first place, is because the level of help that you can get is extremely small. And if you start adding in little things like I want a high touch partner, and I want it at a reasonable price, and I want, I want to feel like my campaign matters. I want to know what you're doing, the work that you're doing each and every single month. I want to have it listed out and I want to be able to look at it. You add all those little details in and we stand alone. I created the solution because even though I'm literally telling you that most people are not qualified, there are some that are. And for that small handful of people, there's zero solutions that I know of, at least, in the real estate industry, except for InboundREM. So that's it. That's my subject. If you have some questions or you'd like to schedule a call and maybe call me out on any of this, which is fine, you can go to InboundREM.com. You can look at the About page or the Services page or the Contact page. All those pages have ways to reach me personally. I'll be happy to have that conversation with you. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in.